A great Zen teacher once walked into a palace, the greatest palace of the land, and he approached the king. The king was a little bit surprised that the Zen teacher had managed to get in. He asked the Zen teacher, "What is it you want? What is it I can do for you?" "I would love a place to stay in this inn tonight." The king was offended, was insulted. "This is no inn, this is a palace. And who owned this palace before you?" "Well, it was my father, of course, but sadly he died. He died several years ago." "And who owned the palace before your father?" "It was my grandfather, maybe one of the greatest kings ever to live. But sadly he's dead too now." And so the Zen teacher replied, "So you're telling me that this place where people come for a time and stay for a time and then leave, this is not an inn?" This is a story of Anicca. Anicca is a Pali word meaning impermanence or inconstant. Everything is in constant flux. Everything is changing. And when I say everything, I do mean absolutely everything. Things that are of the mind and things that are of the physical world. Let's consider metaphysical objects, objects of the mind first. How are you feeling right now in this moment? Hopefully relaxed. You're watching YouTube videos, hopefully you've got nothing really to worry about at the moment. And so the general emotion of the body is maybe this state of relaxation. But I bet you can remember a time where you didn't feel like this. Perhaps a time where you were really, really angry. So angry, in fact, that you wanted to maybe lash out and hit someone. Maybe you shouted. Maybe you did something worse. And you can compare what your state of mind is now to what your state of mind was then, at that time. And it's interesting to see how that mind, how that emotion has come and gone. The emotion arose and it passed. And you can see the Anicca at play here. Things are in constant movement, things are in constant change. We can also examine bodily sensations in the same way. Perhaps you had a time where you felt some pain in a limb, in an arm, in a leg. And now maybe that pain is gone. Even 5 minutes afterwards, maybe that pain had gone. Maybe a sibling had hit you when you were younger and you no longer have that pain. We can see how bodily sensations are arising and passing. Things are in constant change and flux. This is Anicca. Sadly, we also see the personification of Anicca when someone dies. If we go back to the story of the revered Zen teacher talking to the king, he lost two people that he loved, his father and his grandfather. And you can see that people arise and they pass. Perhaps death is the last Anicca we'll ever witness. Physical objects are undergoing constant change too. Weather systems are an obvious place to look. The clouds are drifting gracefully across our skies, rivers flow, mountains even move. Even hard materials like stone and rock are worn away by tides and by pedestrians, and there you can see the effects of those. Another example of this is our social structures. One just has to look back at history to see how different things have been in time. Things like war and revolution cause those changes to happen much, much faster. Other times change happens slowly and gradually, but it is happening. This too is a demonstration of impermanence being everywhere, in everything. And so we can see that the mind is constantly changing and the physical world is constantly changing. A new mind is born into every moment. A new physical world is born in every moment. And from this comes a very liberating perspective. You are under no obligation to be the same person that you were moments ago, because quite simply, you aren't the same person that you were moments ago. And I think this is a really powerful frame that comes from the realization of Anicca. Anicca, along with dukkha, suffering or unsatisfactoriness, and anatta, no self, form the three characteristics. An important concept in Buddhism highlighting the delusion of human beings leading to their own suffering. Around the same time as the Buddha, the Greek philosopher Hericlitus also found this rule of Anicca. He declared, "Everything flows. No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man." This is a beautiful quote that really captures the essence of Anicca. All that said, how does someone benefit from integrating the idea of Anicca into their life? Well, during times of pain, depression, suffering, it can be helpful to remind oneself that the situation will change. And knowing that the body changes, that the environment changes, that our minds change moment to moment offers some relief in this regard. Things will be different. Furthermore, through a recognition, a deep awareness of Anicca, we give ourselves permission to grow and adapt to life. After all, resistance is futile since change is going to happen. Flow as the river flows, with ease, downhill, around obstacles. How does one take this wisdom and apply it directly into their own being? How do they navigate the world with this wisdom at the core of who they are? Since nothing is permanent, we should be prepared to let everything go. An attitude of non-attachment serves us well here. And when I say everything, I do mean everything. It's such a hard word to grasp here. We use it so nonchalantly in everyday life. Everything includes 100% of our experience, 100% of our awareness, including awareness itself. We should be prepared to hold judgments lightly, to hold emotions lightly, to hold views of ourself lightly, dreams, ambitions too. So there are 3 areas of practice that I think really get to the essence of Anicca, and you can see it at work in these different contexts. That's Anicca in the natural world, Anicca in the body, and Anicca in the mind. The physical world is a great place to witness Anicca in action. Mindfulness in nature brings our natural surroundings to our attention. We can sit under a sky and watch the clouds drift by, or you can go out in spring and see flowers in full bloom, and then later in the year see those flowers no longer there and maybe the tree is bearing fruit. Just sitting in nature and observing the life that's there, the life that's changing around us, is a wonderful practice. And with the right frame of it, you can see and witness Anicca happening. Anicca in the body can be witnessed through body scanning techniques. So this is where you move your awareness through different parts of your body. You start at the top of the head and you move down through your face, through the head, through the chest, through arms, through the body, the torso, through the back, down the legs, into the feet. And you can do that a few times. And as you do that, you'll notice that where there was areas of, let's say, subtle sensation or gross sensation, pleasant or unpleasant sensation, they will change. Maybe you come across an area that has some distinct unpleasant sensation. You can observe that, you can move through that more deeply, and you can try and find that place where that pain or the sensation is strongest. You might notice that actually as you do that, some of that pain dissolves, and witnessing that change is Anicca in action. And finally, Anicca of the mind. Breath awareness here is a great way of doing this, and not because you're witnessing the breath, but because you can observe the thoughts that come in. I like to start with just observing the breath and counting every out breath. So we'll breathe in, breathe out, 1, breathe in, breathe out, 2, and try and get to 10. At some point along that, you will be distracted, your mind will wander, and you will lose count of where you were. And that's totally okay. It's inevitable. And when you do that, come back to the breath. Don't try and remember what number you're on. Just start from 0 again and see if you can get to 10 breaths next time. Again, you'll surely be distracted. And what you can do is sort of compare the thoughts that you were distracted with the first time with the second time. They're likely to be different. And as you go through this, you'll notice that the mind state changes as well. you'll be highly concentrated on the subtleties of the breath as you're going through the counting, and then you can witness that mind state change to this distracted state later when you get distracted. And that's anicca in action too. Mind states change. Everything changes. So that's anicca, impermanence. One of the three characteristics of existence. Try and observe anicca as you go through your day. Try and embed it into your life. It will surely help.